They called him fearless. They called him relentless. But he was more than just a warrior. He was a protector, a symbol of strength, and a guardian of a way of life that teetered on the edge of extinction. In the vast, unforgiving lands of the Southwest, where the sun scorches the earth and the winds carry the whispers of history, one man would rise to defend his people against forces far greater than himself. What does it take to defend a way of life against impossible odds? Is it sheer courage? Unyielding loyalty? Or something deeper, a fire that burns so fiercely that even the harshest trials cannot extinguish it? From the earliest days of his youth, he learned the rhythms of the land, the whisper of the grasses, the flight of the hawk, the patience required to survive where survival was never guaranteed. He learned the weight of responsibility, the burden of knowing that the safety of his tribe rested not just on chance, but on his choices, his strength, and his will. But being a warrior is never just about fighting. It's about understanding the fragile balance between honor and survival, between protecting what you love and confronting the forces that would destroy it. It's about standing tall when the world seems determined to push you to your knees. And in a time when the horizon was filled with uncertainty, when strangers and soldiers alike encroached upon his lands, this Apache warrior would face a journey that would test every ounce of his courage, every principle he held dear, and every bond that tied him to his people. Tonight we step into his world. A world of sweeping deserts and towering mesas, of ancient rivers and sacred traditions. A world where legends are born not from glory, but from resilience. The story you are about to witness is not just about battle. It is about loyalty, sacrifice, and the unbreakable spirit of a warrior who would do whatever it took to safeguard his people and their way of life. So ask yourself, what does it truly mean to be brave? What does it take to leave a legacy that will echo through generations? The answers lie ahead in the story of the Apache Warrior, a tale of courage, honor, and a fight that would shape the destiny of a people. And his journey begins now. Long before the world beyond the mesas and canyons encroached upon their lands, the Apache people lived in harmony with the harsh, untamed beauty of the Southwest. Their lives were woven into the rhythms of the desert, the mountains, and the rivers that carved the land over centuries. Every sunrise brought a new challenge, every storm tested their resilience, yet they thrived, shaped by the environment and in turn shaping it with knowledge passed down through generations. The Apache were not just survivors, they were masters of the land. Hunters, gatherers, and warriors, they understood the secret language of the desert. The tracks of animals, the changing winds, the whisper of the grasses, each told a story, each carried a warning. To live among such unforgiving terrain required more than strength. It demanded patience, wisdom, and an unbreakable bond with one another. Their traditions ran deep, rooted in respect for the earth and the spirits that walked alongside them. From rites of passage to ceremonies that honored the cycles of life, the Apache carried a philosophy of balance, courage, and communal loyalty. They valued family, honor, and the protection of the tribe above all else. Every lesson learned as a child, every skill honed as a hunter or scout, was preparation for the responsibilities of adulthood, a life where every choice could mean survival or ruin. But their world was not isolated. The Southwest during this era was a land on the edge of transformation. Encroaching settlers, expanding armies, and new technologies threatened to disrupt the delicate balance the Apache had maintained for generations. Borders were contested, resources became scarce, and survival demanded both cunning and courage. The Apache faced a reality where the very land they called home could be taken from them, and the traditions they cherished could be erased. Yet even in the face of these pressures, the Apache people held fast to their identity. They were fierce, resourceful, and unyielding, guided by wisdom passed from elders and sharpened by necessity. Every hunt, every journey, every moment of daily life carried the weight of survival, and the promise of preserving a legacy. In this world, where beauty and danger walked hand in hand, the story of one warrior would unfold. A story not just of battles fought, but of life lived on the edge of a world in transition. A story that would reveal what it truly meant to protect not only a tribe, but a way of life forged in the heart of the desert. And it is into this world, where every choice mattered and every step carried the weight of history, that our Apache warrior steps, ready to face a journey that will test his courage, his honor, and the very essence of his people. Every legend has a beginning, and the story of this Apache warrior begins not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments of childhood, moments that would forge his courage and shape the man he was destined to become. Born into a tribe bound by honor and tradition, he learned from the very first days of his life that strength was not measured by the weight of a weapon alone, but by the depth of one's heart and the clarity of one's mind. From his earliest memories, he watched his elders navigate the challenges of life in the desert with patience, wisdom, and unwavering resolve. His father, a man of both fierce skill and quiet dignity, taught him that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act even when fear was present. His mother, a keeper of stories and traditions, instilled in him the importance of loyalty, family, and understanding the rhythms of the world around him. It was in this balance of guidance and freedom that he began to grow, not just as a child but as a future protector of his people. As he grew, he tested himself against the harshness of the land. Hunting in the wild, tracking game, and learning the ways of survival, he discovered a natural instinct for strategy and observation. Every challenge became a lesson. Every missed shot, every encounter with danger honed his skills and sharpened his mind. It was here, in the crucible of nature, that the foundations of his bravery and tactical thinking were laid. But what truly defined him was more than skill, it was his unwavering sense of honor. Among his tribe he became known not just for his strength, but for his fairness, his ability to listen, and his unwavering commitment to those he loved. He respected the wisdom of elders, nurtured bonds with his peers, and offered guidance to those younger than himself. In every interaction he demonstrated a rare combination of intelligence, empathy, and courage that would mark him as a leader even before he ever stepped into battle. His relationships were his compass. Mentors taught him discipline and the importance of foresight. Friends became brothers in arms, sharing both laughter and hardship. And his family remained the center of his world, a reminder that every choice, every risk, and every sacrifice carried consequences far beyond himself. In the quiet moments, as he sat beneath the stars or traced the paths of animals through the desert, he carried the weight of this responsibility and the promise to protect those who could not protect themselves. It was in these formative years that the warrior learned the truth of his destiny, that courage alone was not enough. To defend his people, he would need wisdom, patience, and a heart willing to endure hardship without faltering. Every lesson, every trial, and every bond formed in his youth would prepare him for the trials ahead, for the battles that would test the very core of who he was. And so, the boy became a man, not by accident but by design. A man whose mind was as sharp as his arrow, whose honor guided every action, and whose courage would soon become the stuff of legend. A man ready to rise not for glory but for duty, for family, and for the survival of everything he held dear. This is the warrior the Southwest would come to know, a figure defined by bravery, guided by wisdom, and bound by the unbreakable ties of love, loyalty, and tradition. And it is into the storms ahead, into battles both seen and unseen, that he now steps, carrying the hopes of a people on his shoulders and the spirit of a warrior in his heart. Every world has its tipping point, and for the Apache, that moment arrived with the first signs of encroachment. Strangers appeared on the horizon, their intentions unclear but their presence undeniable. Settlers, soldiers, and rival forces began to press into lands that had been tended, hunted, and revered for generations. The delicate balance the tribe had maintained was shifting, and the Apache warrior could sense the storm approaching long before it reached their doorstep. At first, it was subtle, distant fires on the horizon, scouts reporting movement, whispers of agreements broken. But soon the signs became impossible to ignore. Livestock vanished, hunting grounds were threatened, and the sacred spaces of his people were no longer safe. Every path that had once been familiar became a potential trap, every journey a calculated risk. Survival demanded vigilance, cunning, and an unflinching resolve. The warrior rose to meet this new reality with the same discipline that had guided his youth. Each encounter became a test of strategy, every skirmish a measure of his strength and leadership. He learned to anticipate the moves of those who sought to dominate, to use the land itself as an ally, and to protect his people with both skill and foresight. The battles were not just fought with weapons, they were fought with intelligence, adaptability, and the unwavering will to defend everything he held sacred. Yet even in the heat of conflict, moral dilemmas arose. Each choice carried weight. To strike too early could provoke unnecessary bloodshed, but hesitation could risk the lives of his tribe. He wrestled with these decisions, knowing that honor and survival were often in tension. The warrior's mind became a battlefield of its own, a place where courage had to meet wisdom, where instinct had to meet conscience, and where every action echoed far beyond the moment. And as the struggles intensified, so too did his resolve. Losses would come, friends, allies, even family, but with each setback he grew stronger, more determined, and more focused on the greater purpose that guided him. The Apache warrior was not just fighting for territory or resources. He was fighting to preserve a way of life, to protect the traditions, values, and freedoms that defined his people. This was a world in which every decision could shape the future. The Apache warrior's journey through conflict would reveal the depths of his courage, the breadth of his honor, and the lengths to which one man could go to safeguard an entire tribe. In the crucible of struggle, legends are born, and here, on the edge of a changing world, a warrior's legend began to take shape. The stakes were clear. The battles ahead would test not only his skill and bravery but his heart, his mind, and the very essence of who he was. And in the face of overwhelming odds he would rise, undaunted, unbroken, and resolute, ready to meet the challenges that history itself would throw before him. Even the strongest warriors carry burdens unseen. For the Apache warrior, the battles he faced were not only against enemies in the field, but against the pain, doubt, and loss that accompanied every choice he made. Every victory came at a cost, every defense of his people demanded a piece of his own heart. He watched friends fall in battle, trusted allies taken too soon, and felt the heavy weight of responsibility press ever harder upon his shoulders. The land he loved so deeply was unforgiving, and even those he sought to protect were not immune to the ravages of war and hardship. Yet through every heartbreak he found the strength to continue, knowing that to falter even for a moment could cost lives and threaten the future of his tribe. There were moments when the path ahead seemed impossible, when the relentless pressures of survival and the relentless encroachment of strangers made him question everything he had been taught. Could honor exist in a world that demanded constant sacrifice? Could courage endure when sorrow was relentless, and the horizon seemed to close in with every passing day? But in these darkest hours, the warrior's character revealed itself most clearly. He discovered that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. True honor is not in victory alone, but in maintaining principles when the world tests every fiber of your being. Every personal loss became a lesson, every hardship a forge that tempered him into a leader capable of guiding his people through storms that seemed unending. He carried the faces of those he had lost, the hopes of those who remained, and the legacy of his ancestors, all intertwined in the choices he made. Each sacrifice, each sleepless night, each agonizing decision was a reminder that the price of protecting what you love is never small. And yet, despite the pain, he never wavered. His resolve became a beacon, a living proof that one person's courage could inspire an entire tribe to endure, to resist, and to survive. In these moments of struggle, the Apache warrior was human, yet larger than life. He felt grief, doubt, and fear, yet he rose above them, guided by the unshakable principle that protecting his people was more important than comfort, safety, or even his own life. It was this combination of vulnerability and unyielding determination that made him not just a warrior, but a legend in the making. A man whose legacy would outlast the battles, outlast the hardships, and endure in the stories of his people for generations to come. And it was from these struggles, these trials of heart and spirit, that the warrior's true strength emerged, ready to face triumphs, confront destiny, and carve his place into the history of a land defined by courage, resilience, and unbroken spirit. Amid the hardships and the endless trials, the Apache warrior's valor began to shine like a beacon across the desert. Every strategy he devised, every decisive move he made on the battlefield, became a testament not only to his skill, but to the unbreakable spirit that had been forged in the crucible of his youth. Victory was never easy, and yet, through determination and cunning, he began to turn the tide in favor of his people. There were moments that would become legend, ambushes where his foresight saved lives, daring rescues that brought the wounded safely home, and battles where courage alone held the line against overwhelming forces. Each triumph was a reflection of his mind as much as his strength. Every victory carried the weight of responsibility and the wisdom of knowing that lives hung in the balance. But heroism is not measured solely by feats in combat. It is found in the protection of the weak, in the counsel given to those who falter, and in the steadfast devotion to a cause greater than oneself. The warrior became a symbol of hope and resilience for his tribe, inspiring others to rise, to endure, and to fight not for glory, but for survival, for honor, and for the preservation of their way of life. Through these moments he grew not just as a warrior but as a leader. His tribe looked to him with trust and admiration, knowing that his decisions were guided by wisdom, courage, and an unwavering moral compass. And even as the battles raged on and as new threats emerged on the horizon, he remained unshaken, an immovable force amidst chaos, a man whose courage inspired the hearts of all who followed him. Each triumph also carried with it a lesson, a reminder that victory is fleeting without vigilance, and that honor is earned through action, not words. The Apache warrior learned to celebrate success with humility, to recognize the contributions of others, and to prepare for the trials yet to come. It was in these moments, at the intersection of strategy, bravery, and selflessness, that he became more than a man. He became a living legend, a story that would echo far beyond the mesas and canyons of the Southwest. And as the dust of battle settled and the echoes of conflict faded into memory, the warrior's presence remained as a steadfast testament to the enduring power of courage, honor, and devotion. His legacy was no longer just in victories, it was in the lives he saved, the spirit he inspired, and the hope he ignited in the hearts of his people. The Apache warrior had risen not just as a fighter, but as a symbol of everything his tribe held dear: resilience, loyalty, and the unyielding will to survive against all odds. Time has a way of shaping stories, turning moments into memory and people into legends. For the Apache warrior, his journey was no longer measured solely by battles won or enemies faced, but by the lasting impact he left on his tribe and the enduring spirit he inspired in those who followed him. He became more than a protector. He became a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of what it meant to live with honor. The lessons he imparted, of courage in the face of fear, loyalty in times of uncertainty, and resilience against overwhelming odds, echoed across generations. Children learned of his deeds, elders reflected on his wisdom, and the tribe carried his story in their hearts, ensuring that the spirit of the warrior would never fade. His legacy was etched not just in victory, but in the preservation of a way of life. He had safeguarded traditions, strengthened communities, and ensured that the values of his people endured even as the world around them changed. Every river crossed, every canyon defended, every sacrifice made became part of a living tapestry of resilience, courage, and devotion. And yet, the truest measure of his life was not in the battles he fought, but in the inspiration he left behind. Through hardship and triumph, through sorrow and sacrifice, he embodied the timeless truths of what it means to be human: that strength is born from perseverance, that honor is cultivated through action, and that love for one's people can forge a legacy that outlasts even the harshest of times. In reflecting on his life, one realizes that the Apache warrior was not just a man of flesh and bone, but a force of spirit, a symbol of the enduring power of courage, the quiet majesty of resilience, and the indomitable will to protect what matters most. His story is a reminder that true greatness is never measured by conquest alone, but by the lives touched, the values upheld, and the inspiration left for those who come after. The Southwest, with all its beauty and peril, was both his home and his proving ground. And though the warrior's days of battle may have ended, his essence lives on, in the hearts of his people, in the stories told under the stars, and in the enduring spirit of a tribe that survives because of him. This is the legacy of the Apache warrior: a life devoted to courage, a heart bound by honor, and a story that will echo across the deserts, mesas, and canyons for generations to come. The Apache warrior's story is a reminder that legends are born not from the ease of life, but from the trials we endure, the sacrifices we embrace, and the courage we summon when the world demands it most. And in that truth, his spirit lives on, inspiring every heart that seeks strength, resilience, and purpose in a world that is always changing. Now we want to hear from you. If you could stand alongside this warrior and defend something you love, what would it be, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you were inspired by his courage and devotion, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more epic stories from the Wild West and beyond. Every story has a lesson, and every legend has a voice. What will yours be?